The 2025 Spanish Grand Prix was supposed to be a reset point for Red Bull racing, a chance to claw back consistency after a turbulent run of races. But instead of damage control, what we witnessed was a collision that sent shockwaves through the paddock. Max Verstappen, under pressure, underperforming and clearly unhappy, found himself at the centre of controversy once again. Only this time, it may have gone too far. In the dying moments of the race, with championship hopes slipping and rivals swarming on softer tyres, Verstappen received a call no race leader ever wants to hear. Give the position back. What followed was a sequence of events so chaotic, so emotionally charged, that it has triggered both a harsher penalty from the FIA and serious internal tension within the Red Bull camp. You're going to want to watch this whole video, because what's unfolding may just be the most pivotal moment of the 2025 F1 season. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We dive deep into the political power plays, the unspoken feuds, and the moments the cameras barely catch. To understand just how explosive the Spanish Grand Prix weekend turned out to be for Red Bull racing, we need to rewind not just to the incident, but to the context building up to it. Red Bull, once so dominant, is no longer untouchable. Ferrari and Mercedes have chipped away at their advantage. Max Verstappen, a four-time world champion, is being forced into positions where his natural aggression and deep frustration begin to override calculated racecraft. And in Barcelona, that boiling point was reached. The race restart after Kimi Antonelli's retirement brought the field back together under the safety car. Verstappen, on hard tyres, had made a strategic gamble. Meanwhile, the likes of Charles Leclerc and George Russell were armed with fresh softs, ready to pounce. When the green flag waved, it didn't take long for chaos to unravel. Leclerc dove down the inside of Turn 1, taking P3. Russell followed immediately, but Verstappen fought back, ran wide through the runoff area, and rejoined still in fourth. At that point, the stewards had not issued any penalty. In fact, post-race clarification shows they believed Verstappen did not gain a lasting advantage and were prepared to take no further action. But Red Bull didn't wait, perhaps spooked by recent penalties or anticipating a harsher post-race punishment. The team instructed Verstappen to let Russell through voluntarily. That message came through the voice of Gianpiero Lambiase, Max's trusted race engineer. And that's when the situation turned truly combustible. Verstappen, clearly unhappy with the request, began to play the game, but on his terms. On the approach to Turn 5, he eased off the throttle, seemingly allowing Russell to overtake. But just as Russell drew alongside, Verstappen accelerated again, banging wheels with the Mercedes as they entered the corner. It was aggressive, it was emotional, and in the eyes of many, it looked intentional. Eventually, Max did concede the position at Turn 12, but by then, the damage had already been done. The stewards deemed him responsible for causing a collision and handed him a 10-second time penalty. That demotion dropped him from 4th place to a dismal 10th in the final classification. But the bigger blow came moments later. 3 penalty points were added to his FIA Super Licence, bringing his total to 11. One more point, and Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, will face a mandatory 1-race ban. That is unprecedented territory. Verstappen has always been aggressive, always on the edge, but rarely has he stood so close to suspension. The FIA's report was damning. They reviewed telemetry, video, team radio, and car positioning data. Their conclusion? The collision was entirely Verstappen's fault, and their punishment reflects the seriousness of his actions. But perhaps more revealing than the penalty itself was Red Bull's reaction to it. Christian Horner, usually quick to defend Max at all costs, was noticeably restrained. In fact, he didn't defend him at all. Horner admitted the call to concede the position was made proactively by the team, fearing a penalty. He confirmed Verstappen was frustrated, that the move was marginal, and that internal discussions would follow. But his tone was different, less protective, more cautious, almost like a man managing a political situation within the garage rather than a race outcome. And let's not ignore what was happening on the radio. Verstappen's exchange with Lambiase was clipped and cold. The engineer delivered the instruction. Verstappen hesitated. He was angry. The bond between driver and race engineer, so often celebrated as one of the most effective in F1, looks strained. Could this be the first visible crack in what has long been Red Bull's strongest internal asset? Outside the Red Bull bubble, criticism was swift. George Russell, the man caught in the crosshairs, didn't hold back. He called the move deliberate, saying it reminded him of sim racing or go-karts, not Formula One. He stopped short of outright accusing Verstappen of intentionally causing a crash, but he clearly implied it. Russell even suggested that if the move was intentional, Verstappen should have been disqualified. And that sentiment, while bold, isn't without merit. Formula One is at its core a sport of millimeters. Aggression is expected, but intent, deliberate contact, that crosses a line. And with the FIA putting Verstappen on notice, it's clear they believe that line was at least brushed, if not crossed outright. The wider implications of this incident ripple far beyond just one race weekend. Max Verstappen, once the unstoppable force of Formula One, is now under a level of scrutiny we've never seen before. One mistake, one rash move in the next few races, and he's out for a Grand Prix. For a title-contending driver, that's a potential disaster. For Red Bull, it's a logistical and reputational nightmare. And then there's the mental factor. Verstappen openly declared post-race that Red Bull is too slow to fight for the title anyway. That's not just frustration, that's a sign of disillusionment. He mentioned Leclerc taking a swipe at him, Russell dive-bombing him, and the team making calls he didn't agree with. He is driving angry, under pressure, and, for the first time in years, not in control of the narrative. Could we be witnessing a shift in Red Bull's internal power structure? Could Verstappen's iron grip over team strategy and race execution be weakening? The silence, or rather, the lack of support from Horner may be the biggest clue. Behind the scenes, tensions are building. Between Verstappen and Lambiase, between the driver and the stewards, between Max and the very institution of F1 governance, and perhaps between Max and his team. Add to that the growing threat of Ferrari, the rising morale at Mercedes, and the whispers that Red Bull's once dominant chassis is no longer king of the hill, and you have a volatile mix. There's one more thing worth noting. The penalty points don't reset instantly. They carry over a 12-month period. That means Verstappen will race with the threat of suspension hanging over him for several more rounds. Every wheel-to-wheel battle, every risky overtake, every corner becomes a potential time bomb. Is Max Verstappen heading toward a one-race ban? And could this be the moment Red Bull's dynasty begins to crack? Or is this just another storm in a season where he's driving with his back against the wall? Let me know in the comments. Was the move intentional or just a product of frustration? And more importantly, has Red Bull already lost control of its most powerful weapon? Subscribe now so you don't miss what happens next, because this championship fight just took a very, very dark turn.